Okay, right, I hope this is working. I had some trouble with it last time, so if someone could just let me know that it's definitely working this time, that'd be brilliant. Looks like it is. Facebook doesn't seem to like my phone very much when I go live on it, so sometimes it can be a bit funny. The sound went a bit weird last time, so if someone could just let me know that it's all working properly, that would be brilliant. Oh, fantastic. Okay, right, we'll just give everyone a second to join. I'm not too sure when the last live finished up, so we'll give everyone a minute to come and join in. We're going to be talking big dogs today, so a topic I love. Okay. I say we'll just give everyone 2 seconds to join in. I don't know when the last live finished up, so I think I'm started a little bit early as well, which is my bad. Hello everyone, hello. Hi guys, nice to see you all here. Okay, right, we seem to have quite a few people joining, so I think we'll make a start. For those of you who weren't here last time, I did a live on why aversive methods are very prevalent in the big dog world, and I'd really like to continue that discussion this time, but focusing more on what can we do to encourage more people to use force retraining with giant dogs. As with last time, I'm really keen to hear your thoughts, so if you have any ideas on what we could do, I've got my little list here, but I love hearing your thoughts. I loved the discussion we had going last time. So if anyone wants to share their thoughts on how they think we could encourage more people to use forcery methods with big dogs, that would be brilliant. Hi. Hello everyone, hi. Oh, quite a few people joining, that's nice. Yeah, so for everyone who just joined, we are talking about what we can do to try and encourage more people to use forcery methods with big dogs. I'd love to hear all your thoughts before I start sharing mine. Hi everyone. Hello. Hello everyone who's joining. I don't think I left it long enough before everyone joined in. Yeah, so sorry, I keep going. We're talking big dogs. I'd love to hear all your thoughts on what we can do to try and encourage more people to use forcery methods with big dogs. I'm going to talk through a couple of ideas, but we had such a good discussion last time that I'd really love to keep that going in this live. It was a lot of ideas came from the last one. I really loved that. Yeah, I think as again with last time, questions are very much welcome throughout the live. So please do ask, and even if you're watching on replay, get involved, ask anything. Hello, hi guys. Yeah, if you're watching on replay as well, don't feel shy to get involved, just comment down below. I'll be checking the comments when this finishes every now and again, so it won't be missed. Yeah, okay, so I've seen an answer coming through there. I just want to go over a couple of rules because we got a little bit off topic last time, and everyone here is really nice and friendly, but I don't want anything to get a bit spicy. So all opinions are welcome. You know, we're going to respect everyone. We're not here to bash each other. If someone has an opinion, I'm well aware of how we do things like this. When we talk about force retraining and getting it into places can become a little bit heated, and that's not what I want. That being said, disagreement is very much welcome. If you don't agree with what someone is saying, you're more than welcome to disagree with it, but it has to be done respectfully. I won't be taking any bullshit off anyone. I mean, obviously I'm happy to be told you think I'm wrong, that's not the problem, but if you don't do something in a respectful way, you're booted. I'm not putting up with anything. We talked about some pretty sensitive topics last time, so if that happens again this time, I don't want anyone to feel unsafe. And yeah, just based on a comment I've seen come through, when we talk about things, we know not all people, we know not all men, and we know not all women. It's easier to sometimes say everyone, but we don't mean everyone. We are well aware that it's not all men who are the problem and it's not all women who are the problem. It's just going to have to be a bit of a generalisation. So I just wanted to get that out of the way at the start. Right, you've had quite a few people join. So we are talking today how we can try and encourage more people to use force-free methods with big dogs. Please get involved if you have any ideas that you think would be good. We're just, I don't know, a bit of a friendly chat really. And while I'm giving you guys a minute, we've got here, the problem isn't the dogs, but certain types of people who get them. I know I'm stereotyping, yeah, but that's what I mean by when we say we're not talking about all people. But definitely though, I think the types of people who get them, it's like we were talking about in the last live where big dogs are very much a man's game. And unfortunately, what comes with that is rewarding dogs isn't seen as very masculine, and a lot of people then don't reward their dogs and they rely on aversive method, which all kind of links in. Yeah, if anyone, like I say, if anyone wants to get involved or any questions, you have any questions throughout, please do ask. If not, I'm gonna start making my way through my little list. And I know for my first idea, my first thought on how we can try and encourage more people to use force-free methods is, I know there's going to be a talk on this at some point, so I'm not going to touch up on it too much, but the words we choose to use when working with our dogs is so important. And it's just really unfortunate that the vocabulary choices when talking about big dogs is very limited. You've got words like dominant, stubborn, independent, assertive. They're all thrown around so much and so often that there isn't really space for more appropriate words to be used. And I kind of thought, well, what if we tried to shift that then? What if we, instead of using those kind of words, what if instead of saying stubborn, we said the dog is unmotivated or the dog is confused? Is your dog being stubborn because he hasn't got a high enough rate of reinforcement to do what you're asking of him, or do they just not know what you're asking of them? Instead of saying independent, is your dog just a free thinker? And now I know this doesn't apply to all breeds, but I have a barbel, and barbels are bred to guard homesteads and farms in Africa from predators like lions, baboons, hyenas and things. And obviously you're not always going to be there to tell them what is a danger, what is a threat and what isn't. And it means they have to make some pretty big decisions and choices on their own to do their job. And unfortunately what that means then is that they do obviously have the brain that's capable of making big choices, and that can often be seen as an independent trait in a dog. I play a game with my dog Padfoot, it's my 14-month-old barbel puppy, and it's called Show Me a Trick. And I'll just sit on the floor with him with a tub of treats and I'll go, show me a trick. And obviously we built that up, but he will do something that he knows or something that he doesn't because he knows he'll get rewarded for it. And that, that's gives him, it satisfies his need to think for himself, but in an appropriate way. I don't like to say he's an independent dog because he's not, but he does have the brain that makes him capable of making some pretty big decisions, and I need to satisfy that as his handler. But I think it can often be seen as a dog is independent because it doesn't listen to you and it does things on its own. But that's where you need the knowledge to be able to go, it's not the dog is independent, the dog's needs just aren't being met. Again, next one, if we said, rather than saying a dog is dominant, which gets thrown around a lot in the dog world in general, but very, very often in big dogs. And instead of saying that, what if we said the dog was untrained? And I know not in every case, the dog is never going to be dominant, but not in every case it's going to be untrained either. The biggest example I see in these big dog groups is people will let their dog on the sofa. And I don't have a problem with letting dogs on the sofa, just before I get into it. But they suddenly decide for whatever reason they don't want the dog on the sofa anymore. So they walk up to it while the dog's asleep and they tell it to get off. And the dog doesn't move. And when it doesn't move and it doesn't get off when you ask, you go to grab its collar and you go to drag it off the sofa. What happens then is the dog growls. People will go to Facebook and they'll go, I don't know what to do. And everyone chimes in going, you need to be the alpha, you need to show the dog who's boss. You need to give him a heavy hand because this dog doesn't respect you at all. And it's not that at all. The situation is, have you actually taught your dog what get off the sofa means? And if not, flip it around. How would you feel if you were sat nice and comfy on your sofa and suddenly someone came along and tried to grab you by your neck and drag you off, would you turn around and act a little bit aggressively towards them as well? And generally when you put that back on people, they go, actually, yeah, you're right. They still believe the dog is dominant, unfortunately, but it kind of gives them a bit of perspective on it. And I don't know, that's kind of why I think if we flip the words around a little bit, is there going to be enough of a gap opening up where we can change some perceptions on these? Again, I'm happy to be told I'm wrong. Another word that you see a lot is powerful. And there's nothing wrong with the word power at all, but we need to change how it's perceived in terms of these dogs, and it's not always a bad thing. Obviously these dogs are incredibly powerful. We're talking about dogs that are, you know, 60, 70 kilos in weight, have a bite force that is a ridiculous amount. I know when I play tug with Paddy, I just get dragged around. He has a really good out drop it command, but when he like goes for it, I have no chance, and he just drags me, and that's the only time I ever really see the power in that dog. But I don't think we should see it as such a bad thing in terms of this dog is powerful, so it needs a heavy hand. That's the automatic. If you have a powerful dog, you need to, you know, suppress all the behaviour. You need to just make sure that you're in control of them all the time, which is incidentally the next word I'm going to get onto. But I was talking to someone the other day, and they said, we were actually talking about bears. I don't know why I'm relating it to dogs, but he said capability doesn't always equal culpability. And that really stuck with me. These dogs are powerful, but it doesn't mean something bad is going to happen if you're not the alpha all the time and you're not, you know, using harsh methods on these dogs. And the next word then is control. You need to be in control of any dog, but especially a dog with as much size as these guys that we're talking about. But rather than saying control, could you not say work with? You work with your dog. Control doesn't need to come from a place of fear. And I think a fear, or I suppose submission. And that's where people make the mistakes, I feel anyway, from what I've seen. And the last word that I find gets thrown around a lot is assertive. That's obviously in relation to the owners now, not the dog. But rather than saying these dogs need an assertive owner, why don't we say they need a knowledgeable and understanding owner? Someone who is knowledgeable about the breed traits, and someone who understands the behaviour that comes as a result of these. If we started implementing these words more, would there be a bit of a shift in the way things are perceived with them? I'm just going to read some of your comments. I'm so sorry I've missed them all while I was blabbing on. Where are we? Yes, here. I think a great way is showing off forestry training on social media with all types of breeds to show that we aren't all taught and our dogs do get well trained. That is absolutely, definitely. I think we touched up on it in the last live. Unfortunately, you need quite thick skin to be able to post things on social media knowing that people are unfortunately probably going to come after you. But I do have so much respect for everyone who... I try and post when I can, if I'm in the right mindset to be able to deal with any backlash that may come from it. But I know you post a lot with your gorgeous collie. I love him, he's brilliant. Fair play to you. There you go, yeah. In my experience, breeders often tell people they have to be the boss and use aversive collars. Yeah, so a lot of it does come from the breeders. Especially with these breeds, you tend to find them all with like prong collars and choke chains and stuff. And then people see that, they think that's what it should be. They go to these breeders for training advice, and the breeders are breeders and they do a good job. They're not trainers. Love the name Padfoot, thank you. Instead of stubborn or independent, I like to say intelligent. Yeah, definitely. Irrelevant point, I realised I've just been pronouncing. To be honest, this is how I've been told to pronounce it, but I've spoken to one person who lives in South Africa, and who lived there, and they pronounce it completely different, but I don't have the right accent to be able to do it, so I just say barbel. How do you motivate a dog that isn't very interested in food? There's been quite a lot of answers. Get better treats. My dog loves freeze-dried chicken. Try to make feeding time training time. Yeah, find what does motivate him. So it doesn't necessarily have to be food as a reward. You could use toys as a reward. You could use attention as a reward. Don't starve your dog of attention in, general life, but if they are for attention completely, constantly, all the time, then you can still fuss them at home and use it as a reward outside. Don't be afraid to use environmental rewards as well. Paddy went through a phase where he just wanted to drag me towards every lamppost and things he saw, which is fine. I don't mind him sniffing on walks, but we worked and he learned that if he walks nicely to heel on a loose lead, he's allowed to go and sniff the thing that he wants, and that's his reward then. Need to think for himself, that is wonderful. Yeah, so I think there's a big thing there where a lot of big dogs' needs aren't met because people's egos get in the way. But barbels, I don't know if this applies, it doesn't apply to every breed, but they especially are very free thinkers, so they need to have that outlet satisfied. Yeah, so a lot of other people said, yeah, higher value treats, play as a reward and things. Emily, I think I'm drawing a lot of parallels here with 4-3 with horses. It's so against the grain to give them choices because they're 500 kilos plus. I think a lot of people are too afraid to give them that control in case it goes wrong, but in my opinion, 4-3 training done correctly shouldn't result in it going wrong, with the exception of accidents. Yeah, unfortunately we don't live in a perfect world. But that does really touch up on a good point there, is in case it goes wrong. But then what happens when it goes wrong and you use aversives? There's still the result there. I always think a lot of people say, I've had quite a few times, I'm not exactly big. Paddy weighs more than me. He is as tall as I am on his back legs. I'm 5'7". And people say, are you not worried when you walk him? And I say no, because I either worry about things that are irrational, or I'm worried about things that all I can do is train for and hope in that incident the training comes together. It's like, say he wants to chase a squirrel, and they've got a prey drive on them. And I think, okay, well, rather than be worried that he's going to drag me across a road to get to a squirrel, why don't I just implement a lot of training beforehand, teaching him a with me command, this way command, cue. I'm trying to really touch up on the words I use as well, because I've been getting into bad habits for that. But I'm trying to put these cues with him. I'm trying to teach him that I am much more rewarding than the environment at all times. And then when it comes to it and we've seen a squirrel or a duck on a walk, I just go, this way, Paddy. And he makes the choice to come with me because I'm much more fun. And I think because you can do that, obviously things pop up, but as long as you can make yourself as prepared as possible in case it goes wrong, is not a valid excuse to use an aversive method on an animal just because it's big. Yeah, I get it. I have a Great Pyrenees and admin some groups with other livestock guardian breeds. Yeah. Jasmine Malloy said something brilliant in the last one. She said leaving breed groups is self-care, and I thought that was the best thing I've ever heard. I'm in like one barbel group still, I think, because I just got so sick of them. Would you give more examples of outlets for independent thinkers? Yeah, let me have a think. So that game is definitely my favourite. The Show Me a Trick game. I think it does everything you need for it. Need it to. What else do we do with Paddy? I mean, I let him make choices on walks and things. If we come to an intersection or something, obviously as long as it's safe, if we're up in the forest, say, and I'll just go, you choose where you want to go, and I'll stand there and let him consciously make a decision. And it's little things like that really where it you do it. I suppose a lot of people do it like subconsciously with a lot of dogs. You let them choose their own toy and giving them think that's what I do with him anyway, but I'm actually probably gonna look into more outlets for independent thinkers, because I should probably do a lot more of that with him, because he's still fairly young. He's not got that switched on brain, not as much as an adult who would be working would, but it's very much is that Show Me a Trick game is his all-time favourite thing in the world to play. Sorry, if I've missed anyone's comments, I'm really sorry. Quite a lot came through. I didn't realise how long I was blabbing on for. Right. If I've missed any, please just give me a shout and I'll go back to them. But the next thing I had down on my list anyway is having big dogs, owning big dogs. A lot of it comes down to ego. I suppose I'll touch up on what we were talking about last time. It's a man's game to own these big dogs, having them and keeping them not everywhere, but in enough places that it's still very heavily seen as a man thing to have a big dog. And unfortunately, this is where it comes down to not all men. A lot of that then comes down to ego, where everyone has to have the biggest dog, weight-wise, not just size-wise, the most protective dogs. You'll always see fights, you know, being picked with each other about the dog's natural ability to protect you when it's never been put in a situation. And people feeling the need to prove that their dog doesn't need personal protection training because it would protect them in an incident anyway, just because that's what it's been bred to do, and silly little things like that. And it's all a big pissing contest, but ultimately the dogs are the ones who have to pay the price, which is where I suppose the problem comes in. And I know that's not a solution, but I kind of thought if we start to question that and shift the focus of it, would enough of a gap form to change people's perceptions? What if you turned around and said having a dog that is 80 kilos is not the most impressive thing when your dog is so morbidly obese and out of shape that it's not fit for function anymore? Why is it that why do you have to prove that your dog is the best because it's 20 kilos overweight? Or what if we turned around and said having a dog that will kill anything on sight is classed as protective, when it's not? Having the most protective dog when it's scary, aggressive and under no control is not, I don't know why that would satisfy your ego. And I think if more people were to question that, we could start to make a shift where it's like, well, what is the priority with this? Is it having a dog that's fit for function, that works with its owner or handler in the best way, where the dog is happy to work and it's keen to work, as opposed to a dog that works because it's scared of you? Why don't we question things like that more? And I think that would be my solution. How do we encourage more people to use force-free? Is by questioning why people don't. Or not so much why people don't, but why people are doing what they're doing and trying to take it a step back, really. I have to add, see it so often that people boast about how much their dog weighs, know your breed, how much they're supposed to weigh, know how their ribs are supposed to feel. Yes. So incidentally, in the Barber groups, again, over the last few days, there have been two things. There's been one where people are going, who's got the biggest dog? And that's where I got this, why are we turning this into a pissing contest about whose dog is the most overweight? And similarly, there's been other posts where people have gone, this is my working Barbel, and the dog looks absolutely fantastic, and all the comments are just, he's too underweight, dog's too thin, he needs to be, oh no, there's no worries. The dog needs to be fed more, it needs to weigh more. And it's like, why, and this happens with all breeds, but why are we punishing people who keep their dogs fit for function and praising people who have a dog that's so overweight that they physically cannot manage it anymore, because the dog is too heavy for anyone to be able to control, which means they have to then rely on aversive tools? I don't know, I thought maybe I'm just missing something, but why are we praising the wrong things? Why aren't we questioning these things enough? That it can be done force-free. You can train a protection dog force-free. You don't have to beat them up to get them to be scared of you in order for them to, I'm going to say protect again, because it's not, it's reacting out of fear that people then go, this dog is protecting me. But anyone who's spent any time in a big dog group will have seen it's ego central. That's all it is, unfortunately. Yeah, so let me just go back through your comments again. Like I say, I don't really want to miss anything. Here we go. Guinness took heaviest dog out of their book of records because of hugely overweight mastiffs that everyone complained about. Good, people should complain about them. It's like a Barbel. Paddy's quite heavy for a Barbel. He's 78 kilos, but I'm happy to post a picture of him that shows he is no fat on him. He is out of breed standard though, he's very tall and lanky. But then you see people who make it this big, they have quite short and stumpy, the bone structure is ridiculously too large, so the dogs can't even move properly. But they're boasting about how their dog is, you know, 180 pounds or 80 kilos or whatever. And people are praising them for it. They're going, wow, that's a big dog and its head is huge. And it's like, yeah, but look at it. The dog is a barrel. Overweight dogs have joint problems, diabetes, heart problems, same as humans. Yeah, and especially, again, you know, because this is a big dog chat, large dogs are at more risk for these things anyway. Joint problems are a big issue with big dogs. Hip dysplasia, elbow dysplasia and things. So why are we putting extra weight on them when they don't need it? Definitely overweight dogs have compromised welfare. No, absolutely. But when you've got entire groups of people praising each other for having dogs that are overweight because they've pushed a new milestone of size or something, it's like Dark Dynasty canines. I'm sure everyone's heard of Hulk, the world's biggest pit bull, who is a mastiff mutt. That dog is so unfit for any kind of function, but because he's, what do they call him, like 170 pounds or something. Yeah, apparently he's people praise him for that. He's had so much fame for it, but it's an overweight mutt that can't even jump on a sofa. What's your top tips for training a giant dog force free? Prevention is better than cure. You have to be it's really difficult. I'm gonna go with, say, working with them from a puppy rather than an older rescue dog or something, just because it gets a bit complicated then. But you have to train them right from day one as if they're going to be a 60-kilo giant lump that you live with. You can't, unfortunately, let them get away with things that a smaller, cuter puppy might be able to. That would be my number one tip, is, unfortunately, you can treat them like a puppy, obviously, but you have to keep in mind that this is going to be an incredibly big, incredibly powerful dog in a matter of months. Paddy was 9 kilos when he came out 9 weeks. When he was 4 months old, he already weighed nearly 30. So it doesn't last long, being able to pick them up and cuddle them. What else would I say? Respect the power of the dog you have. And again, going back to the words I use, I don't mean that in a bad way. Power isn't a bad thing, but you have to be knowledgeable of your breed. You have to know what their traits are like. Barbels are prone to dog aggression, so Paddy has always been taught to disengage from dogs completely. He'll walk down the street and not even look at any of them. He's friendly and he will play, but he's so disinterested in dogs because that's what he's been taught from day one, that really it doesn't bother him. Know your breed. I suppose, again, that goes for every dog, but it's especially important with these giants that you know what they're prone with. You know what they're bred to do. Barbels are protection dogs. They naturally have a protection instinct. You have to shape it and mould it if you want to actually use it for anything, but they will naturally protect you. Paddy's shown a couple of behaviours that I don't encourage because I don't want him as a personal protection dog. To be honest, it's not really much different than if you were training a smaller dog force free. It's more just don't let people peer pressure you into thinking. I've been told on multiple occasions if I don't put a prong on Paddy, he's going to cause a serious accident one day because I'm not big and strong enough to hold him. My partner Paul used to be into bodybuilding, and if Paddy wants to go, Paul goes with him. No one can hold a dog of that size if that dog wants to go. So prevention is better than cure. Implement management techniques, things like an emergency U-turn, eye contact, things like that. You have to try and get those things in early. I don't think I explained that very well, I'm really sorry. I love bragging about how not heavy my Wolfies are. 29 inches, yeah, he's 34 kilos. I love your dogs are so gorgeous. But that's how they should be. I don't see many like wolf dogs, but I can assume there's going to be people who make them fat couch potatoes because they think they just want a wolf living in their house. Same with Caucasian, yeah. So I've seen a couple of those ending up in pet homes with people who really should not have them, and you kind of just think that dog really is going to cause an accident one day. Yes, so that's a perfect comment. Even in a prong, a dog that size would still pull you over without training, so that logic is so flawed. These dogs are bred to kill lions. Now, if you think having a metal spike in its neck is going to stop it when a lion biting it is not going to stop it, you're an idiot and you shouldn't have one of these dogs. Just gonna put it out there. Their pain tolerance is insane. I mean, like nothing you've ever seen before in a dog, because of what these dogs are bred to do. I don't, yeah, putting a prong on a dog that size when it wants to do something is going to have no effect. So that logic really is flawed. Right, guardian breeds. I work with a fair few that come from overseas or are in built-up areas with little access to roam, or have owners who'd like them to be more social and bark less. Yes, it's quite infuriating explaining the dog needs to do to them and what they've bred to do. Yeah, so however, what sort of things can be suggested to help with disengagement from people, dogs, visitors when food is not more motivating? I always recommend management. So again, it comes down to, if your dog isn't food motivated, really you want to look at why. Are they just not using a high enough, reinforcement, or is there something more reinforcing to the dog? A toy's more reinforcing. Don't be afraid to use a toy if that's the best thing possible. So the engage disengage game, which obviously is marketed towards reactive dogs, but I train with all my dogs because it's such a useful skill. That's what I suggest to everyone because it just works. Within a week, Paddy had gone from like acting like some sort of demented kangaroo on lead whenever he saw another dog to just not caring. But then he is very food motivated, so that helped. I suppose, yeah, it is very much, I mean, place command is very useful. Not in a sense of have your dog on there for 12 hours a day doing nothing, but these dogs don't tend to fit in crates, so you need to have a safe space for them, and having like a little raised bed or something can be their safe space. You can obviously use things like combs, chews and things then to help them settle down when visitors are there. I suppose it really depends on what breed and stuff. But yeah, when people say they want them to be more social or bark less, and you're like, oh, why did you get that breed of dog then? Yeah, pound for pound, any dog is going to be stronger than a human unless the human is a weightlifter. Yes, my husband has had to restrain our girl from going after a bear. Oh, wow. Once I was coming in the drive as he was walking her, sorry, a comment went, and had his arms wrapped around her because there was a bear on the neighbour's lawn. That is cool and scary. I jumped out the car to help him. Thank goodness that she's matured and I worked with her. She's responded better to leave it. Though she really wanted to go after a bear, could not prevent it. Yeah, so I think that's the thing really, is you can, that's what I mean by respecting the power of the dog. You can train all you want, but you can never forget that these dogs are, they're big and powerful, and if they don't want to do what you say, they're not going to. You have to give them a reason to work with you, not work for you, because one day they'll just tell you to F off. I think that also some people do not discuss in their homes the type of dog they want to buy, adopt. I met some couple that husband always wants to have large dogs and he buys one, but his wife was so tiny and scared so she can handle this dog. Yeah, and she was averse to collar because she felt more safety. If they will discuss this, I think there'll be a match more proper. Yeah, so unfortunately that is, I mean that's kind of what happened in this case. Pad was bought to be my partner's dog, but Paddy bonded with me. Obviously I have experience training dogs and stuff, but I didn't go out and get this dog myself. He was meant for my partner who's had them before and has breed experience. He's a lot bigger than me, so obviously I'm not scared of Paddy. I don't mind, but I could totally see why, especially when he was going through like the worst of his adolescent period, I could totally see why for safety reasons someone might consider using something aversive on them. You can work through it, just you have to know what you're doing, unfortunately. And then when you have cases like that where the dog is in completely the inappropriate home, the easiest thing to do is to just slap a prong collar on them or something. After shadow develop reactivity, I'll be focusing on preventing it, developing it with my future dogs by playing engage, disengage Yeah, so important, especially in herding breeds that are prone to reactivity. Yeah, so I used to have a lot of collies. I had like 5, so mastiffs were a big change. But all of my dogs, I used to play games like that with them too, because I thought prevention is so much better than cure. Not just big and powerful, but also purpose bred. Yeah, we can't forget genetics in all of this. Most of them are either bred for some kind of, you know, guarding, protection job. Even, you know, livestock guarding breeds are bred to be out there doing, making their own choices and having to think for themselves and kill whatever they need to. So suddenly we're putting them in our homes and with tiny people. Right, let me just make sure I haven't missed anyone's comments. Right, for everyone new who's just joined, because I've seen a couple of people just joined, we are discussing how we can try and encourage more people to use force-free methods with big dogs, because aversive techniques are so prevalent in the big dog world. So I've just been asking what everyone's thoughts are on that. If you have any, we're just having a nice little discussion where everyone's opinions are welcome. So yeah, if you have any thoughts on on how you think we could try and encourage more people to use force-free method, please do join in. I'm just making sure I haven't missed anyone's comments before I carry on. So as Charlotte has said, she commented earlier, obviously a big one we can do to try and get these methods out there is show. We can show, not just tell, and prove to people that, prove is the wrong word, no one should have to prove themselves, but rather than putting dogs in uncomfortable situations for internet clout, is do our way and show people that it works. Honestly, I genuinely think the best thing we can do is be an example. Best to lead by example, show them how well trained your dog is. Yeah, so that is pretty much my next point, is the most powerful way we can try and encourage more people to use these methods, especially people who may just be entering the Mastiff world, or the big dog world, sorry, or the dog world in general, obviously, is to try and show them rather than tell them, because you can throw science at people all you want, but if they can't see the results for themselves, especially when the only side of dog training they've ever seen is people using tools and they work, you know, there's no denial that they work. Again, it just comes down to how and why, and that's why we choose not to use them. But if that's all you've ever seen from dog training is that side of it, and you've seen the results that come from it, when suddenly someone throws a study at you and goes, well, it's wrong, you can be a little bit overwhelmed by it. So if we go, here's why you're wrong and here's what you can do instead, and here's the results you can get from that, I think it will make a massive impact. But again, unfortunately, it does come down to people do need pretty thick skin to be able to handle the backlash that may come from it. I know I don't post much about Paddy anymore. I did when he was a little bit younger, but some of the comments I got was, well, if you were a man, you wouldn't need to ask that question, and it's silly things like that. We got, yeah, so there's a study there. I can't obviously click on the link while I'm live, but new study shows why you really shouldn't yell at your dog. It's gonna be an interesting study. My best friend runs Kangol Dog Scotland and she has 9. Wow, she has 9. That's amazing. I trained her first one and I've trained them since for her. She explicitly states the group is force-free and they have to come to me if they need referrals or want one-on-one support. This way the group is leading how to have these dogs with force-free exclusive methods. Amazing. I think more dog groups must set these standards too across the board, no matter the breed. The block list is huge due to comments like you have had yourself, but a lot of people are changing their mindset now, at least in our group. Tasha, that is amazing. I know you're very much a show, not just tell person. I love that with your Wolfies and obviously Little Diesel. But no, that is a very, very good point as well, where obviously Facebook groups are so accessible these days and anyone can join and anyone can give advice, and dog training is so unregulated that you can literally just go in a group and go, well, some person who's had dogs all their life told me to use a prong collar on my dog, so I'm going to tell you to use a prong collar on your dog because it's a similar situation. And there's not really a lot you can do to... There's nothing you can do to enforce it because it's not technically illegal or wrong. But then when it comes to it and you have these groups, especially when they're quite large groups, and people are supporting those methods, I suppose all you can do is try and speak up, but you end up just getting hit by lots of people who are a bit too shock happy. I think we need to be careful about telling people they're wrong because people will entrench more. There is science behind this. Yeah, so I personally won't go around telling someone you're wrong, but I will say this is potentially a better way to do it. People get defensive when you go you're wrong, even if you can prove why. People will just go straight on the defense and you've lost them then. But then it's so difficult because it's like turning around and sort of going, your methods work, but please try and understand how and why they do, and then if that doesn't sit right with you, here's what you can do instead. It's really difficult to change people's view on force-free. People are very set in their ways and most really believe they aren't doing any harm to dogs using aversives. Yeah, so again, I mean, that's a big thing. They've either been training dogs for 50 years and they've never had a problem with it, or so-and-so's uncles, sisters, whatever weird relative here was a military handler and they use these methods, so they're obviously fine. And because their dog is... the cognitive dissonance is very real, but because their dogs still get happy to go on a walk or something, the prong collar can't be that bad. And yeah, it does come down a lot to changing people's mindset is difficult when they're so stuck in the ways they've either always known, or again it comes down to it works for them, and no one's denying that aversive methods don't work. I'm not saying they work long term, obviously there's a lot of fallout from them, but there and then they do, and that makes people want to do them more. So I think, yeah, definitely education is definitely needed, but I think more than that, there's enough education out there to know that force-free is the way to go, but I think there definitely needs to be more variety, I suppose, in the dogs that are being shown to be trained force-free. It's obviously, I'm not saying border collies are easy dogs by any means, I've had my fair share of them, but it does put something in these aversive trainers' back pocket when everyone has a border collie and they're doing it, and here, yeah, but border collies are easy dogs. And I say, I'm not trying to say people don't have difficulty with them, I know what they're like, but if you can turn around and go, well, I've got a Caucasian Shepherd, or I've got a Great Pyrenees or something, and I've trained them all force-free, I think it really adds fuel to the force-free fire then. Before I got my puppy, I went to a class run by a long-time breeder, not of my breed, in a local dog enthusiast club. I was amazed by the dogs staying in here without a lead, following every turn their owners made, but I was turned off when I asked what the little bottles of lemon juice are for. And was told that they would just squeeze a little into the dog's mouth whenever it did anything you didn't like. That's bad. I've never heard that before though. That's a new one for me. Yeah, so unfortunately a lot of it then as well comes down to, if dog training was a more regulated industry, it would just, yeah, all round be yeah, it would work a lot better. Well, that's an interesting one though. It's been such a long time since I've taken any dogs to training classes, because Paddy's the first puppy I've ever really had, and then unfortunately his litter was born just before COVID hit, so I couldn't really take him anywhere or do anything. But the fact that people are still out there advocating for these methods, I mean, you know, I'm sure we all see them online enough. The fact that like Cesar Millan and stuff is still out there making TV series and things, it really proves that there's a long way to go before we can get force-free set in anywhere. But no, I think, I know I'm probably been blabbing on for a little while, so I better round it up, but for me anyway, personally, I think if we could change the language that's used, we could change people's perceptions of what perceptions of what these dogs should be. They shouldn't be a big fat barrel that can't move just because you want to say that your dog is the heaviest by number. We should be going, the dog who's most well trained and in tune with its owner or handler is the one that's praised the most, really, but that might just be me, I don't know. Change the words we use, change the perceptions we use, and really just do our best to show people what can be achieved if you use these methods with the dogs. I don't think it's going to make, you know, the biggest impact, but I think sometimes a smaller impact can help if we start trying to shift the words we use and hope people pick up on it. Well, hopefully soon you won't hear the word dominant in these breed groups. You'll hear your dog might need a little bit more training, your dog might need a little bit more guidance. And I don't know, I think sometimes it's the small things like that that just make such a big difference. Instead of saying, and unfortunately things like barbels aren't registered with the UK Kennel Club, but they are with the American Kennel Club. And if you read up the breed standard on their website, it says that these dogs need an assertive owner. And if we could get things like organisations like that to change instead and say they need a knowledgeable owner, there's nothing wrong with that, but it opens the door to someone who goes, I don't want to be assertive with my dog, I don't need to be. He's my teammate, he's not, I don't know, something that I yell at for no reason. But when you see it on such a big organisation's website, it can put you off, and then there's one less person who has one of these dogs who goes in, who uses these kind methods. Words are powerful and you become your word. Yes, changing our language really matters and makes a difference. Great point. Yeah, so I'm trying to do it a lot. I tend to find I use command and I don't want to use that word anymore, so I correct myself and use cue instead. But it makes a difference. I feel better when I go, oh, I cued Paddy to do this today, instead of going, I commanded Paddy to do this today. Definitely language is the first step. Like, try to think of it as cues, not commands, and throw out words like dominant, pack leader, boss, stubborn, defiant. Defiant is a good one, I didn't touch up on that. But yeah, so I think it definitely, dominant is leader, but they're all such common words, especially with big dogs, that I think if we stop using those but use an alternative instead that was kinder and more effective, people would stop. Like I say, if you stop going, this dog is dominant, and start going, this dog has no guidance, this dog isn't trained very well, not in that way you don't want to, you know, jump on someone's throat, but people will start to stop saying the dog is dominant and just start saying we need to help this dog a little bit more because it doesn't understand what you want. It's confused, I suppose. They don't know what assertiveness is. That's part of effective communication. Yeah. The thing is, anyone can be a dick to their dog. Excuse the language, but anyone can. But you'll find you'll have a much more effective partnership if you're not such a dick to your dog all the time. Right, let me just check what the time is. Yeah, right, so I'm going to start to wrap this up anyway. If anyone has any last thoughts that they want to share, please do. Yeah, there we go. A lot of times dominant behaviour is fearful behaviour, absolutely. And then because people are so wrapped up in you don't need to reward your dog for anything, and because of their breed, they don't get scared of things, and you can't reward fear. You can't reinforce fear either, so pet your dogs when they're scared. But yeah, it comes down to people just going, well, we'll blame it on the dog being dominant instead of actually seeing what's going on. Yeah, you can call it anyway, but don't be a dick. I think it's better to just be a bit blunt. I fully agree with you. Like the message here I've worked with the pressers, yeah, showing them changes mindsets. They just need to see and be able to feel that they can do this themselves during their one-on-ones rather than relying on Facebook for advice or going to a balanced trainer. It's been cool to see so many changes change their ways over the years, but it's still not enough numbers yet. Word of mouth helps, but maybe more YouTube videos to share across business pages. Yeah, so I think all sort of platforms of multimedia, any videos we can get. Like I know, I don't think Ruby's here, but Ruby shares a lot of things because she's fearless and she just doesn't give a shit, which is brilliant and why we all love her. But yeah, I do think the problem is if we weren't so scared of getting ragged on by other trainers who, rather than complimenting you and going, you've done a fantastic job, just want to pick apart every little thing you've done. I know personally I wouldn't be so scared to share my work. But it is, yeah, it's being able to show people that you can work with these dogs in this way and still have as much control and as much, you know, there's no need to worry about your safety. It really does help. So yeah, Tasha, I know Tasha's done quite a lot of work with Big Dog. She showed me some pictures and stuff, it looks like fun. But Tasha is brilliant. And I think I've got everyone's comments. Like I said though, I am gonna start to wrap this up now because I know it's been coming close to the hour, but I want to say thank you everyone for some really insightful thoughts. I love having little discussions like this. Unfortunately it's like preaching to the choir here because you're all force free anyway, but it's still nice to sort of knowing some ideas that other people have had and things, and hopefully those of us who are here can try and implement them in the breed groups and be an advocate for our dogs, really. Let me just make sure I haven't missed anyone. If I have, like I say, I'm really sorry. And again, if you are watching this on replay, please don't be afraid to join in, because I will be checking the comments to make sure I haven't missed anyone. Over 3 kilogram Chihuahua, oh my goodness. So Paddy eats 3 kilograms of food a day. That's quite scary. After the introductory class I mentioned above, I just found, yeah, a positive reinforcement trainer for introductory puppy course. Joined, yeah, a breed group, positive reinforcement. Read a lot of articles and books. Decoding a Dog's a great one. Okay. And eventually became an admin on some groups. Yeah, so I think, unfortunately, that's what I had to do, is I tried to find some, I suppose luckily I had a bit of a support group because I was already a positive reinforcement trainer with my other dogs, but when it came to large dog specific, I just had to try and do it myself mostly. But if you could send me a link to your groups, I would love to be part of them, because I need to be part of more breed groups that don't make my brain cry. A 65 kilo Newsie, yeah. Both are treated the same, that's brilliant, that's how they should be. Right, I think I've got to open comments, but yeah, no, thank you guys. I love little discussions like this. I always learn new things, and I love talking to people who are sort of on the same page. I appreciate you all joining in as well. Dog Decoder is Ace, that's another book, okay. So I'm gonna have to go shopping later then, apparently. Thank you everyone for joining in, I appreciate it. Right, okay, I will leave it there. I hope you enjoy the rest of the lineup for however many days Ruby's put this on for. She is absolutely nuts, but fair play to her. I can't wait to hear some of you guys talking as well, because I know there's some really interesting topics coming up. I'd be interested to know your thoughts. Like, please, you know, be brutally honest. I'm happy to be told I'm wrong on any part of this. I can handle it. Yeah, and appreciate it, guys. So enjoy. Ooh, hang on. In 2009, I crossed over to force retraining my pet dogs. My late Japanese Mastiff benefited so much, and our relationship improved immensely when we did force free. When you know better, you do better. That is so important. When you know better, you do better. Absolutely. So don't discount Facebook groups. There are some good ones out there. Facebook closed down our training group that had 28,000 members. We are now on MeWe and maintain an extensive library of resources. I may start a website later this year. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, no, there are some good Facebook groups out there, but for the most part, breed groups are not self-care. I will keep a look into that though, because I'm really interested to connect with other big dog people who train with this method. Oh, wicked, thanks for sending the link. I appreciate that. And right, I am actually going to wrap it up now, because otherwise I'm just going to keep blabbing on for ages. Again, thank you everyone for joining in. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the lineup for the dog conference.